Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar Wednesday. We have Cameron and Emily from Steadily, and I'm going to turn it over to them to introduce themselves, and Cameron will actually be handling the presentation. If you all have any questions, feel free to use the chat box that we have up there on the top right, or feel free to email me at the very end. And I'm going to turn it over to Cameron.
Thanks, Collie. I appreciate it. Thanks everyone who is joining in today. First and foremost, just introducing myself. My name's Cameron Hopkins. I'm the Southeast Territory Manager here at Steadily. Also have Emily on here because she's definitely the expert on the West Coast. She's our Western Territory Manager as well, and so she'll be manning the chats. If y'all, just for time efficiency, if y'all have any questions, pop them in the chat. We'll definitely address everything we can. But let's get started into these slides. And so, first and foremost, here at Steadily, we're an MGA, which means we're a managing general agency. On our side of things, we're going to utilize 4 carriers on a nationwide footprint when it comes to writing paper for us to form those products out. And so, with that being said, Fortegra, Trisura, Canopius, and Obsidian are the 4 writing carriers. Depending on the state, depends on which carriers are being utilized. And as y'all can see on the map, all states that have a shade of purple or active states that y'all can write in with Steadily. What I will say regarding carriers is all of our carriers are all of the carriers we utilize are AM Best A minus rated. So we're definitely not just choosing anybody to write on their paper. And also too, when it comes to access y'all have to write in y'all's non-resident states, just make sure the agency and the producer writing those policies are licensed in the states that y'all are wanting to write in. I say all that because our system is not going to block y'all for those new states. So just make sure y'all are in compliance so we don't send over any nasty grams y'all's way. When it comes to all of our carriers, appetite wise, we're going to go up to 1 million for coverage A with the one caveat. If it's in a PPC 9 or 10 for that fire station zoning, we will cap out at 500K for coverage A max. And there'll also be some water damage limitations on there. But other than that, also with premises liability, we're going to offer up to 1 million per occurrence, 2 million aggregate. And it's also good for me to notate that our premises liability is on a commercial general liability form when you're talking about pairing with an umbrella carrier and compatibility there. When it comes to policy forms, we offer with all of our products, they're either going to be on a DP3 or a DP1 policy form. And so when it comes to the DP3 policy form, that will be special form. It's got to be excluded for it not to be covered. With us, just know that when you're looking at the RCE that pre-fills in the system, we are only going to offer replacement cost at minimum for our DP3, and y'all cannot insure that property for $1 less than what that RCE shows in the system. For all properties, most properties that are on replacement cost under 750K, you will be able to add extended replacement costs. And I do want to throw out, and our system will tell y'all, but if it's pre 1940, that will be on a functional replacement cost for all of the right reasons. And also, too, when it comes to that DP1 policy form, this is going to pre-fill as actual cash value on that basic perils policy. We do also offer the repair cost option for that middle of the road valuation coverage. So definitely play with the system, play with especially the DP1, seeing what optional coverages are offered in your state. But I definitely think y'all are going to enjoy those policy forms and product offerings. So if y'all didn't already know, here at Steadily, our niche is landlord insurance. The easiest question to ask yourself is, does the property have tenant exposure? I say that because I'm about to get into a few different situations, and it's always easier to just fall back on that blanket statement. But before I get into occupancies, just know property type. We're going to accept single family dwelling all the way up to a 4 family dwelling or your fourplex per se. And we also have a condo product. And I always like to specify that now because with our condo, if we're talking about studs in just for that unit, we can take that unit if it's in a bigger building than a fourplex. It's just a matter of, hey, are we insuring the whole building or just that one unit? When it comes to occupancies, we accept long-term rentals. We also accept short-term rentals. And in our system, you're going to see that short-term rental question, and we're going to classify short-term rental as any rental time frame from 24 hours all the way up to 3 months. And so it's also good for me to notate that we really don't have a minimum day. That day minimum day is 1 day for the short-term rental. And when it comes to the short-term rental side of things, Airbnb, VRBO, all those platforms, we are more than happy for them to go through those platforms for those properties. And I'm not going to go through every guideline we have in the books, but one of our main guidelines with that short-term rental is going to be if the owner of the property lives over 120 miles away from the actual insurable location, there's got to be a property manager tied to that application or the policy. And so with that, we're good. It's going to be a pre-fillable box. Y'all put any traditional property manager in there. Let's say they don't have a traditional property manager and they go through Airbnb, VRBO, anything like that. Y'all can put those platforms in as the property manager. All I'm going to ask as y'all's territory manager is that y'all answer no to the screenings question because we all know those platforms are not doing the full 9 yards as a property manager would, but still alleviate that guideline. Moving forward to some more niche occupancies, seasonal rentals. The main difference with us versus like your typical homeowners carrier is going to be, hey, while that primary owner is not occupying that secondary home, is it going to be vacant for the other half of the year or will it be a vacation rental? As long as it's got tenant exposure and it's not vacant for more than 60 days, that will still fit within our appetite. And also, too, I do like to stress before I keep going with the mixed exposure side of things that we're insuring that property for the full year. If a claim happens even while it's owner occupied, as long as the exposure's there, we're not going to nitpick depending on the occupancy at that time. And so also too, rental with owners, any multifamily dwelling I can think about to where the owner lives in one unit, the other units have to be tenant occupied unless they're vacant. And so as long as those other units are tenant occupied, we can insure that whole dwelling, all units together. And then really the only other situation that is more niche would be home share. Primary home, the owner lives there full time, but they have an extra bedroom and they rent that bedroom out on a lease or a contract, that's definitely something we can accommodate as well. It's also good for me to notate when it comes to ADUs and casitas, depending on where you're located in the nation, probably depends on what you call these, but I like to just specify as that secondary additional livable dwelling unit on the parcel that shares that same parcel as the primary. There are a few different situations that can come about with this. And so I'm not going to dive all the way into every single situation, but just know for certain things, that's why in these slides that y'all will have, um, we have hyperlinks there. It will take you to certain articles in our agent resources to just help guide y'all through. Because also with the ADU, it will look slightly different on how you write those if you're trying to write the primary with the ADU. If you can do that on the same policy or separate, if there's a few different caveats. So just know that article will help guide y'all through depending on what state you're in. The last thing I want to stress on this slide is with all y'all being spread out, there will be certain states that have not launched to our newest product version yet. And so if you click on that hyperlink at the bottom of this slide, this will give you the full updates of what we've done to our newest product. We got a full condo revamp. So that condo product, not only will it be more price competitive for our version 3 states, but y'all will have greater coverage offerings to choose from. And also too, we're just going to get more granular for certain things. So definitely dive into that, see what states we've already launched to, what's upcoming, just to give y'all some better guidance on products for y'all state. So our next product is going to be our renovations product. And so it's always good for me to start by stating that this is not going to be a true builder's risk policy. It's not even meant to cover major renovations. And so when I think realistically for those minor renovations, most internal updates will be fine. Unless it's a full gut of the property, that is still going to classify that major renovations. But externally, it does get more niche. And so you're looking at roof, siding, fascia, things that aren't structural related, moving load bearing walls, things along those lines. And so more product related. When it comes to the two options we give y'all under this renovations product, we have a fix and rent and a fix and flip. With how y'all position this is pretty much going to be how y'all ask that question with the client. Hey, after renovations, are y'all selling this property or are y'all renting it out, adding it to the portfolio? If they're adding it to the portfolio, that policy is, or then especially that client is a long-term client for y'all, hopefully a long-term client for Steadily. So we're not going to penalize in the form of billing when it comes to the fix and rent. That will act as the same as all of our other products, no MEP, no broker fees, nothing like that. On the other side of things, we have our fix and flip. And even though both of these products are annual products, policy terms per se, the fix and flip is not meant to last that long. And so for that reason, we don't offer monthly on this product. We also have a $150 steadily fee and a 90-day minimum earned premium. And that's so not only us as an MGA, but y'all can get paid even if they cancel month one, just to suffice for what they need to. What I'll say lastly on this is when y'all do a quote, as y'all can see on the screenshot, when y'all click start quote, it's going to pop up an acknowledgement box that gives y'all instructions on how to send in proof of renovations. Because the ultimate goal here, especially for that fix and rent, is for y'all to tell this client, hey, when renovations are done, send in proof of renovations. If it's on a platform, send in the listing so we can see it's about to be tenant occupied. You got a lease agreement, send in a lease agreement. And once y'all do so, y'all can requote to our standard product. That will be a better product and a more price efficient product. And it's an easy transition rather than y'all replacing it with a whole nother carrier. And so hopefully that helps. But once again, we got the chat there available for you guys if y'all do have further questions on any of these niche products. Last thing I'll state too, because a lot of people will ask regarding the renovations. During that renovations process, we pay purchase price plus invested capital. Make sure they keep up with receipts, but yeah, that should help. Our last product I want to go over is our X-Win product. So in the following states, in those following tier one, and for Texas specifically, those tier two wind zone counties, um, before this product came out, we didn't offer any. It was just restricted counties. We didn't have any active products. Um, Now we have released a lot of these counties to our X-Win, and pretty much what that means is it's going to be our standard product with an added exclusion, which is the wind and hail exclusion. Pretty big exclusion. We're aware of that. And so with that, these are definitely going to be your coastal properties. Just know that depending on the state, depends on if there's a state wind pool program, we're good with y'all pairing that with the state wind pool programs for that wind only coverage. Y'all can also go wholesale to pair that wind only coverage. On our end of things, we're not going to nitpick compatibility. There will be a few caveats on a state by state level, depending on the state wind pool. We can talk about that in a more granular level if y'all want to. Just reach out. Last thing I want to state regarding the X-Wind, just so y'all are aware, I don't ever want there to be any confusion on if when y'all quote, if there's wind and hail coverage or not. And so just know if our system is smart enough to know that when y'all put a location in that first page, when y'all click start quote, if it is in one of these counties, it's going to pop up an acknowledgement box that says, hey, are you fully aware that you're entering a quote that does not offer wind and hail coverage? Do you want to proceed? Not only when you click through to proceed, next to the quote number, it's still in bold red. It's going to say wind and hail exclusion. That way, y'all are fully aware, like, hey, does the quote got wind and hail or not? So other than what we do accept, I think it's really good to talk about what we absolutely don't accept. And so I always like to start with apartments. And so with our niche being landlord insurance, you can tell that apartments are a big question we get. And so just know we're going to classify any apartment as 5 units or more when we're talking about insuring that whole building. Also, too, I do want to stress that and this will go hand in hand with the next sentence, that commercial exposure side of things. When we're talking about multifamily dwellings, even a few multifamily dwellings that share the same parcel, really to where it becomes a commercial exposure is when we get into community laundromats, gyms, an office for that apartment complex, and then like you got row homes, downtown strip situations to where maybe the unit y'all are trying to insure, that townhome y'all want to insure, has no commercial exposure whatsoever. But on the same parcel, there's a coffee shop and another unit. that's still commercial exposure on that parcel. And so we're going to look at it on a premises level and not the dwelling level. I mean, we'll still look on a dwelling level, but y'all get where I'm going there. So definitely keep all that in mind when y'all are looking at commercial exposure. Moving forward, just know that that home or that dwelling has to be built on site in order for us to insure it. If it's mobile, modular, or manufactured, we cannot accept that. That'll also go hand in hand with tiny homes. If depends on how they're built. If they're built from the ground up on that parcel, we're good with it. Vice versa, we're not. Also, too, rather than going through and nitpicking every little thing that we're going to look at underwriting wise regarding property condition, the most blanket statement I can give y'all is pride in ownership. If the owner is taking pride in ownership of their property, they're going to keep up with the landscaping. They're not going to make sure there's all kind of stuff in the yard that's hazardous. They're just going to keep up with everything. And so that's the main thing we're looking for. We just want those good conditions, that pride and ownership there. And also, too, I know I somewhat stated it, but for the vacancy side of things, just know that if any property is going to be vacant for more than 60 days and not under renovations, that one, if y'all know ahead of time, it's outside of our guidelines. But let's say they don't disclose this to y'all and that property's vacant for 8 months, a claim arises, there will be certain exclusions applied in our policy form around the vacancy side of things, theft, vandalism, malicious mischief, stuff like that. Also, too, it's good for me to tell you guys that we are big about underwriting here. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can on our side too to at least make that process easier for y'all. And so throughout the quoting process, pre-bind, we're going to use all kind of technology to catch bad roofs, debris in the yard, any kind of aerial photos we can to hopefully get something resolved before y'all bind a policy. But if y'all get through a seam line quote and bind, just know we are still going to hire a third party inspector to go inspect that property within the first 30 days of inception. And let's say we do send out a UAR, notice of cancellation, anything like that, we will definitely attach that inspection report as well, giving you description on, hey, here's what we found and this is what we need fixed, or it will cancel. So more capabilities and guidelines with Steadily. Um, we offer a schedule policy. Uh, I do want to give y'all just some key notes around that schedule. So when y'all are building that schedule with us, you're just going to click the add dwelling button on the dwelling page and just continue to add as you need to. When it comes to the schedule, y'all can add up to 40 locations on a quote and hopefully eventually a policy. Um, and also on a portfolio level, we're we don't necessarily have any max. Technically, if we'll accept it carrier wise, y'all can add as many policies as y'all want. We're also not asking questions about, hey, how many policies or locations do they have with other carriers? That's just nothing that we're keeping up with at this time. And so, just some more caveats here. For a schedule, all locations have to be in the same state, on the same policy form, and have to have the same billing contact. And so if the billing information is different, billing addresses, 10 different lenders paying 10 different locations, that's not anything we can accommodate. That policy will cancel for non-pay because we're not going to get all that payment. And just know our system should block y'all when y'all try to add that second payee in there lender wise. But hey, if I can save y'all time, I'll definitely try. And then the last thing I'll state is just to know that as we expand, we do not want to insure every property in every neighborhood. I hope y'all appreciate that. We do want to spread the risk. And so, with that being said, if y'all know in advance, y'all have 10 locations, they neighbor each other on the same street, y'all can do the TIV to know that, hey, we're going to have a block in our system that says 2 million total insured value in a quarter-mile radius. And so if y'all know ahead of time, that'll just save y'all time. That's not for me to say go elsewhere. That's just for me to say, hey, pivot to one location quotes. That way we can distribute to our carriers evenly, and capacity will probably be less of an issue there versus the schedule. If y'all have further questions on that, once again, I got Emily rocking the chat and y'all can ask later too. When it comes to business entities, we're good with LLCs, corporations, and trusts, as long as it's not a land trust. And this will look slightly different on how lenient we are for other business exposure based on what state you're in, if it's an admitted state or a non admitted state. So just know with our admitted states, If it's Jerry's Construction LLC, which means they have other business exposure outside of the ownership and maintenance of rental properties, we're not going to accept that entity as the first named insured. In our non-admitted states, we are more open to accept that. But for example, that same Jerry's Construction LLC, y'all will see the question in the application asking if they have other business exposure. If they do, you will be prompt to send in proof of general liability for those other class codes, showing they're covered liability wise for those other exposures, because we definitely don't want to open ourselves up for that on our end of things. Moving forward to older homes, we're definitely going to accept, other than Cali and Arizona, stopping at 1940, we will accept a home as far back as 1870. And so I'm not going to make that blanket statement without at least diving in a little bit on how that process looks in our system. And so just know any quote y'all do, you're built after 1940 is seam line quoting and binding. Make sure for the most part your average roof is updated within the last 20 years. But when it comes to any property year built between 1921 and 1940, still pretty easy in my eyes. You're just going to verbally confirm that with the insured that they've had the electrical, plumbing, and HVAC updated within the last 30 years. Once you verbalize that with the insured, y'all will see that application question pop up for these year builds, and you're just going to click yes and proceed as normal. You're not going to talk with underwriting. You don't need to. Any property 1920 or prior, we will have an underwriting block in our system. You will have to put the year each component was fully updated, and depending on what diligence underwriting can do and what information they can get on their end will depend on if they either come back saying, "Hey, we need supporting documentation showing these updates. We can't find anything." I'll say all that to say if y'all can get supporting documentation ahead of time, that's always the quickest route, just because we're looking for that. Hey, we're talking about 120, 140-year-old properties. We're open to insure them, but we want to make sure they're updated. So our carriers look back 5 years at claims for both the applicant and the property location. Any application with more than two charge losses per location will be considered declined. And so with that, we consider a charge loss any claim that's non-weather related with a payout of over $500. And so the one example I like to give, just to be completely transparent with you guys, is let's say there's a portfolio, this client's got 10 properties. One claim pops up that is non-weather related, but five claims pop up that are weather related. Let's say that non-weather related is a pipe burst over $25,000. Just that claim alone, you're having to refer to underwriting for. And so, for any reason, if y'all are referring over claims to underwriting, just know that they're not gonna decline when they see those other weather related claims, but they're probably not going to accept that thousand, that $2,500 wind hail deductible if they see five roof replacements in the last 2 years. We definitely want to protect ourselves. It should be within reason, but you will see deductible caveats, water damage, stuff like that. So billing wise, we only offer direct billing here at Steadily. We're not going to manually invoice the insureds on y'all's behalf or accept agency sweep accounts. We have lender billed policies and we have client billed policies. Lender billed policies, y'all are just going to put the lender's information in the system. Once y'all issue that policy, it's good for me to notate that y'all do not need immediate payment to bind it. We're going to send that invoice off, everything we can to do our part on our side, and that lender has 60 days from inception to pay that premium, or it'll cancel for non-pay. On the other side of things, our client bill policies, those policies have to be paid, at least the down payment does, in order for the policy to bind. On top of that, it's good to know that all client bill policies will forever be on auto pay, and even if it's an annual policy or annual billing. We offer monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, and annual billing options. Um, y'all have full autonomy day one to go in the system, update the auto pay, update the payment schedule. So it should not be an issue other than just letting them know, hey, y'all are on auto pay. We do a great job here of notifying when renewals go out. We always stay in compliance. So we're going to notify when those things come up, especially for those annual renewals and whatnot. Two things I do want to notate here. Definitely utilize that client paid in full 10% discount. Hey, that's an easy way to win risk, especially price wise. And also, too, just know that we use Braintree when it comes to our payment system. Braintree is owned by PayPal. Y'all will get that client that calls, I'm dissecting my bank account statement and I see PayPal on here as a description. That will at least give y'all the information to know how to answer that question. Well, I was saying, I really don't know. Let me dig. And so with that, we like Braintree. There's no fees involved to run credit card, debit card payments. Definitely none for the routing and account number as well. And really, it's just a matter of y'all inputting that information in the system to run that payment. And when it comes to agency support, I just always like to make sure y'all are fully aware how to get in contact with this team. They are solely here to support y'all as agents. And even though I want to be there to support all y'all 24 hours of the day, let's say I'm in a training call like I am right now, y'all may be waiting a little while to get me. And so if y'all need immediate assistance for quoting those, just the day to day stuff to get those quick answers, if you're in the quote, you can chat with them at the bottom right hand side. They are real people, they are in house here. And so they'll definitely be able to assist you. But you can also pick up the phone and call them if you want to talk to someone immediately as well. And just know that if y'all email them, they'll still respond, but it's not going to be that immediate form of communication. So, time frame wise, be aware of that. Other than that, they're available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, ready to help you guys out. Last page I got for y'all is just so y'all can be aware of how to get to our agency resources. So when y'all click that resources drop down, I do like to notate that state eligibility. That is just a further hyperlink that y'all can also find in the agent resources tab. The state eligibility is one of our most used articles or guides per se that you can use. If you're writing in multiple states, I urge you after this call to go in there and look at that, just because it's going to give you bullet points for county restrictions, carriers that we're utilizing those states, if we're admitted or not admitted, what our deductible minimums are, what products, just all the above, without having to read all thoroughly through all of the different guidelines to get a grasp of what we do for your state. Also, to just know, because I know roof is always a big question when it comes to the year that that roof goes from replacement cost to actual cash value. That will differ depending on the state. So rather than going down the list and acting like I know all of this off the top of my head, if y'all go to the property and roof condition guide, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and y'all will see that I'll call it a graph, but you'll see where it's got the states and the year for each state just to specify. Other than that, definitely take a look, see what our agent resources look like. Um, Most of us were prior agents in our past life. And so with that, we don't overload that agent resources page. Emily does a great job of keeping up with a lot of that. And so all these articles are as informative as we can be without just putting extra information in there. So we have that for y'all for also time management too. And so other than that, I appreciate y'all listening to me ramble today, and I'll open it up for questions if Emily hasn't already answered them.
Thanks, Cameron, so much. That was awesome. I do not see any messages in the chat, so I assume
Gotcha.
Emily grabbed those if they were there. But real quick, guys, I'm just going to take back the screen so I can share with you how to access Steadily from our portal. I will share my screen. So real quickly, you're going to visit our website, infounderwriting.com, and you'll locate our agent portal up here in the top right. You will log in and you will find Steadily at the very bottom with the rest of our personal carriers right here. And just to remind you guys that you'll have to complete this login registration beforehand so you can get credentials. Once you get those, you'll be able to jump right into Steadily. So I will stop sharing my screen now. But again, Cameron, Emily, thank you guys so much for jumping on here. This has been great information, some new stuff for me as well, so I appreciate it. And I also want to thank all of the agents for jumping on today. This will get uploaded onto YouTube, and Cameron's actually going to shoot me copies of the presentation, so I'm happy to send that out as well. But again, thank everyone for jumping on today. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.